When you feel like starting over, just let me in your head so I can be there for you, there for you. Night is young, won't you sing for me? Won't you sing for me? You will fall asleep.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to VC Masters on the Pod TV Network. I'm Nick Palavino. I'll be your moderator for today's show, but definitely not your host, because today our host, of course, is Dr. Salman Alzar, who's a professor at Duke University. So we're going to bring him in, and also he has also a very special guest for today. So it looks like we have a good treat coming in for you today. So Dr. Alzar, you can introduce your special guest, and we'll get started.
I have the pleasure and honor of having Gary Mueller today. Gary joins us today to enlighten us about light and its impact on human health, which is huge, by the way, and you will learn more about it today. He's a board member at Chorus, one of his favorite and my favorite organizations ever. Gary is a seasoned investment professional and entrepreneur who has been a leader and board member at several pioneering organizations. Currently, he is a managing partner at Foundry Capital, a firm specializing in growth investments for high-quality companies. Gary was also a co-founder and chairman at, actually still is, co-founder and chairman at Liquid X. He was also the founder, CEO, and chairman of ISI Emerging Markets. He earned his BA in biology and neurogenetics from Harvard. Then he did his Fulbright scholarship in Germany on neurogenetics. Then he earned an MBA in entrepreneurship from Harvard Business School that you may have heard of. So Gary, nice to have you here.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Why is light important to human health?
Well, clearly light is important to all health, and it's a key part of all the things that keep us alive, photosynthesis, which creates our food. But in terms of human health, what a lot of people don't realize is that light is the trigger, and it's the main regulator of our circadian rhythm. And if I can describe that briefly, most people know we have cones and rods in our eyes. We actually have a third photosensitive cell. It's called the photosensitive ganglion cell. And that cell, all it detects is blue light, and it ties directly into our suprachiasmatic nucleus in our brain, which regulates, that's like our time clock. It regulates our circadian rhythm and things like sleep, etc.
So, Gary, we are all aware of blue light, and what I always heard of is stay away from blue light. Is that true, or is blue light can be helpful as well? I know the answer to it, but I just want you to, I don't want you to think that I'm just complete charlatan here helping Chorus for all this time. So please.
I totally understand, but it's important that we talk about this, Salman, because it's a very big misperception. Blue light is very important. In fact, you want a lot of blue light during the day, in particular in the morning. It's really good to get an extensive amount of blue light. Being outdoors, we normally would get that. What's really important, though, is at the same time to minimize and ideally go to zero blue light, especially at night. And that tends to be a time when, instead of getting zero blue light, we're on our phones, on computers, indoors with light, and we're bombarding ourselves with blue light, which is actually the wrong time. It's sending a really mixed up signal to this part of our brain that regulates our circadian rhythm.
Awesome. And there are other kinds of light sensitive results as well, like cancer, for example. And what I learned a few years ago that light can cause cancer, artificial light can cause cancer. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, there are studies now on this that show that getting the wrong light at the wrong time and doing shift work really dramatically increases your rate of cancer. And there's lots of studies on this. One study shows it effectively doubles the rate of cancer. And we're seeing that a disrupted circadian rhythm is really pernicious across a wide variety of health outcomes, from cardiovascular disease to, mental illness to a broad range of illnesses. And we're now, over the last 10, 20 years, there's been a growing body of research to the point now where it's really extensive that shows how pernicious getting effectively the wrong light at the wrong time and having a disrupted circadian rhythm.
Yeah, I've seen these charts that kind of map age and severity of diseases and things like Alzheimer's and cancer for older adults, and then the ADHD and mental health. Eventually, mental health is kind of all the way through, but are lots of emotional and mental health issues as well as physical health issues. What is going on there? Why does that happen?
Well, the research shows clearly that a disrupted circadian rhythm leads to these really bad health outcomes across the board, like you said. And it seems like it's in myriad areas. And my bet is that this is just going to continue. We're going to see that a disrupted circadian rhythm, leads to bad health outcomes. And it's partly why I think you're hearing now about the importance of sleep. I mean, that's been talked about for a while, but of late, there are a number of people who talk about how, sleep is without a doubt one of the most important things to your health. And what happens is the disrupted circadian rhythm affects your sleep, and it obviously just can disrupt your sleep. And that is probably what causes a lot of these bad health outcomes. And, one of my views now is that, we've really totally inverted the way we are getting blue light. Instead of being outdoors during the day, 95% of people who do information or knowledge work in industrialized countries, the average person like that spends 95% of their time indoors. So they're not getting out in front of the sun. So they're not getting enough blue light during the day, and they're getting way too much blue light at night. How many people, and we're all guilty to some degree, pick up their phone or look at a computer right till when they're going to bed. And this is really wreaking havoc with our circadian rhythm.
I wanted to say what you're talking about, Gary, but I think a lot of our audience won't get that. I'm dating myself there. And if somebody wants to look up different strokes, what you're talking about, Will, is because I never do that. I never have my phone next to my bedside. I never look at my phone.
Good for you. Good for you.
No, that is a complete lie. That is a complete lie. That's how I catch up on my day on my phone. So I am guilty as charged. And I would love to have something like a blue light blocker. And I try to turn blue light blocker until, and then I realized that this is like snake oil.
Yeah, the challenge is that the blue light blockers that you hear about, or even night shift mode, Apple has night mode, those are not full solutions, because two things: one, most of them don't block all the blue light, and second of all, they also disrupt what you're trying to do. In other words, like they change the color of your screen, they make it hard to read, that type of thing. The real solution is something that we've been working on for a very long time. We started working on this over a decade ago. And now we have working technology that can make any screen look the exact same. In other words, you could have two screens together, and one, we can change the amount of blue light. So we can go from max blue, so a lot of blue light, down to zero blue. And you won't perceive a difference between the two screens. If you were looking at one with our technology and another without, ours, we can completely take out the blue light. So imagine, to your point, you want to check your phone at night, you could pick up your phone with our technology, and at 10, 11 p.m., you would see the screen as you would normally experience it, but it would have zero blue light.
Yeah, and it's great to kind of hear that is coming in my phone soon, because I can't wait for it. So when you say we, you probably mean Chorus, right?
Correct, yes.
So tell us what Chorus is doing about all this lighting epidemic. I mean, this reminds me almost like organic food, or pesticides and all that stuff when I was growing up. was a thing, and I kind of like didn't really believe that. But now it is real, and now the light is real. What is Chorus doing about this whole lighting epidemic?
That's a great question. We started Chorus about a decade ago. It was after our previous LED company, with the notion of creating really great white and LED light. And in the background, we started working on what we called healthy light. And I can go into exactly that. And so we spent a lot of time, and there are a number of people involved in this, including some really amazing researchers and scientists and physicists, et cetera, to create the technology to do exactly what I talked about, basically to deliver light, whether it's high quality white light or your screen, where we could adjust the blue light so we could make it healthy for you and make it mimic what you would get if you were exposed to, for example, sunlight. So we could completely take out the blue light, which is a really hard technical feat to do that. Or we could go max blue during the day when you're supposed to get a lot of blue light.
Before Chorus, there was another company called Color Kinetics that you all did. You all is a very southern way of saying, so sorry about saying that to a New England person. So tell me more about Color Kinetics. What happened there? And what did you do there? Is it the same thing as Chorus or different?
No, well, it's similar in terms of the same space, in terms of digital lighting. So we started Color Kinetics up many years ago. My brother was at Carnegie Mellon University. He had always played with LED lights, but it was when there were only red and green LEDs. And then a scientist named Dr. Suji Nakamori created the blue LED, and he won the Nobel Prize for that. And as soon as that was created, we realized that you could create full spectrum digital lighting, and that light would undergo this revolution of moving from analog, like incandescent lights, to digital, which is what LEDs are. We thought that was important for a number of reasons. Two of the main ones was you could, it was digital. You had this analog to digital revolution, so you could control it. Think what happened when music went from analog to digital. All of a sudden, it created all these myriad possibilities. The second reason why we thought that was super important was that LED lights use about 1/10 of the power that incandescent lights use. And they also use significantly less than fluorescent. And they last much, much longer. So you have at least a 10-to-1 benefit in terms of energy usage and LEDs being environmentally friendly. So we started up Color Kinetics. We grew that to about 40 million in revenues. We had about 125 patents. And when we took it public, and then Philips bought that company. So if you see Philips, their LED division is our old company. And ironically, before our call, I was just looking at something, and I found the Color Kinetics prospectus for our IPO. Right, I was looking at it yesterday, and so here it was just before our call on my desk, and it made me think of taking that company public.
So your Philips lighting, smart lighting, literally has your family's DNA, yours and your brother's in it.
Yes.
So if anybody is using Philips smart lighting, you already know. Here it is where it all started with Gary. So what happened after Color Kinetics? So it was bought by Philips, and then did you leave Color Kinetics? Did you continue it there, or what happened?
Yeah, we let them run the company from there. We figured it was a good handoff. They proceeded to do quite well with the business. They monetized the IP extensively. We were told by them, to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. So, I think they viewed it as a really good acquisition, both in terms of the business and in terms of the intellectual property. I'll never forget, it was shortly after that, my son, I've got 5 kids. My oldest is a son. I think he was 8 at the time. my kids went down from 8 down to 2 years old. And my son said to me, hey, Daddy, do you have to travel so much? And right then and there, I said, wow, that's a good question, a very prescient question for an 8-year-old. And I said no. So I decided not to travel for a bit, spend some time with my kids. And, I had some business activities going on in some other companies and that type of thing. But it was a good time to step back a bit and see what, spend time with my family. And it's good to step back sometimes just to see what's happening out there.
Yeah, definitely. So I can relate to that, because after my first exit, I said to my wife, let's move. We were in Bay Area. Let's move, buy a home in Atherton, and let's just move there. And then I can do my next startup. And she said, I don't know anybody in Atherton. All my friends are here. Why don't we stay here? I said, well, if you stay here, I don't need to do anything. So I'll just retire. That lasted for a couple of months. And then she kicked me out because I started moving furniture out and started optimizing my house. And she said, this is not your company. Get out of here. And that's kind of like, so what happened to you? I mean, did your wife kind of throw you out or something like that and say, go get a job or something? Or
it's a similar story. Within a year, my brother and I were, doing things again. So he actually might have taken a little bit longer because he loved to kiteboard, and he literally went on with his life partner on a world tour of all the best kiteboarding locations. But then after that, we said, hey, there are more things to do. And in lighting, what we felt was that, look, there's a lot more opportunity here. And if anything, what's interesting about the first company, Salman, is that we felt we did well and did good because, helping to create the LED revolution, which is kind of swept everywhere now, right? I just read the other day, LEDs are now over half of the lighting market. So it's really, and that's going to go to, as you can imagine, most of it. So that revolution has been very good in many respects. It's been very good in terms of much lower energy usage. So, we felt good about that from hey, we brought a lot of parts of the new technology of LEDs to the market. We helped from an environmental perspective, but then lo and behold, it's interesting. You start something, it gets going, and then you realize, wow, LEDs might also be an issue, right? Because they emit far more blue light. Now they're everywhere, including we're using, just think about the smartphone, right? Think about like how much light we're being bombarded with. So, I had fun for a little bit of time, and then we decided to get back at it.
nice. But by the way, I like the way you slipped in, or, Shuji Nakamura won a Nobel Prize for this work. I mean, like, it was like, just by the way, like he was kind of walking around and he was working on LED lights, and he just like did that. And we are commercializing his work just like that. It just takes a Nobel Prize to do what we are doing. But you have other, yeah. Sorry, go ahead. You're going to say that?
No, it's. I think just the story of Nakamura's inventing of the blue LED is amazing. He is a really unique, super smart, super focused scientist who was doing research in Japan, and he just didn't give up when, told numerous times, like a lot of people doing great discoveries, right? He was told numerous times, stop this, it's never going to happen. And then he just kept persevering. And over years, he eventually invented the blue LED. Well, what we love about that, and the history on this is great. And if you like, we can segue into it. He did that and won the Nobel Prize for creating the blue LED. And then here we are, we started up this new company, and we're doing a bunch of different things, and we're doing a lot of research and creating a lot of intellectual property around what we call healthy lighting or human-centered lighting that ideally is going to help humans, right? The LEDs were good because they use less power, so good for the environment. But now we're thinking, hey, how can we help with this? And while we're doing it at Chorus, he was doing it at a company called Sora. He was backed by Vinod Khosla, the well-known venture capitalist. They put a lot of money into that company. And the only two companies that had a lot of IP in this space, there were some others, but we were the two main companies, were us and Sora. We approached them at a time when they had about 200 patents. We had about 250 patents. And our technology together really was ideal to create what we're calling here healthy lighting. So we approached them initially about a cross-licensing deal, and then we agreed to merge the companies about 4 years ago because we thought that was the best approach. And sure enough, it's bringing all that technology together. Now we have this amazing foundation of intellectual property, and we've been able to deliver what I talked about. That a lot of people look at our technology, and one comment we got recently was, "You can't do that," and then they saw the spectrometer and they were like, "Wow, that's like magic, right?" Good, it's like good technology is initially like magic, right?
Yeah. So I remember actually that time that all this was going on at Chorus, and I thought, or EcoSense at that time, before it merged with Sora. And I said, oh, they're going to definitely benefit from the LEED standard, and they're going to grow with that. But this whole thing about making light healthy and controlling the entire spectrum is basically just a pipe dream. And it's I've heard this story before so many times. And I'm undergrad physics major, did research in physics, so I know a little bit of physics, but not enough to win a Nobel Prize. And I'm glad that it took people of that caliber to solve this problem. So how many patents do you have now? You said something like 200 and 250 or something like that.
Yeah, combined the company, we combined 4 or 5 years ago now. We're about 540 patents now, which I've been involved in a lot of companies that have patents. For example, one of the companies that I have an investment in, they have a handful of patents, and they just received over $100 million settlement offer from a very large tech company, basically for one of their patents.
Yeah.
We just had a patent group look at our patent portfolio, and as you can imagine, they were like, "Wow, this is extensive." In patent terms, a lot, you think about broad and deep, and they talked about how this patent portfolio is exceptionally broad and very deep. So some of the patents are just, we have one patent where they were like, "Wow, they provide or create a numerical score for these types of patents."
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
it was the highest they'd ever done. So we're pretty excited about our patent portfolio, and most importantly, excited about it's going to be over the next 2-3 years where it really starts to roll out. We are literally this week and next week just rolling out our more extensive beta launch with our consumer product, which will be initially just bulbs, but that'll go more broadly. We're a quarter or two away from launching our commercial, our main commercial products for that. And we've already had some signed deals for the displays that we're talking about. And by the way, this is all on the base of a company. We are already about a $70 million business in revenues, break-even company. So what I love and the way we've tried to do things in the past is you want to innovate and you want to create IP, but you want to be in the marketplace at the same time. So you want to have products out there. And that's what we've tried to do with Chorus, and which is why we have, 70 million of revenues. We've got great customers they're repeat, they order from us every quarter, the likes of, Google and Starbucks and Amazon and McDonald's, type folks like that. But what I love is that I think the really interesting stuff is coming over the next 1, 2, 3 years, where it just feels like the LED revolution when that hit. I remember a lot of people saying to us, "Wait, what's an LED?" And what I would tell people is, I said, "Look, I don't know when, but at some point LEDs are going to be everywhere, and they'll be the most common light source." And that's partly why I looked it up. So I'm like, last week, it's, we're there now, right? And I feel the same way with this technology, that I don't know when, but it just strikes me, it's going to be, it feels like it should be ubiquitous, because why wouldn't we want healthy lighting?
Definitely. So The patents is really why I invested in every round, every chance I got in Chorus, because that builds this moat that is so defensible. Because a lot of companies start, they do something brilliant, and then somebody reverse engineers them, that same thing, and does it in slightly different way to do that, break the patent or circumvent the patent. But the nice thing about these patents is they're foundational patents, so you can't really easily circumvent them either. And then you already have like this profitable commercial business. And you mentioned that you're launching the consumer business now. So I can get Chorus lights next week?
Soon. The beta is going to be the next. We've done several, as you can imagine. We did an alpha. We've done a couple of betas. This is our bigger beta. The commercial lights the consumer lights are going to be there very soon, within the coming weeks. So we're excited. Stay tuned.
I know the insiders are on the wait list. I was just trying to see if I can talk to a board member to kind of get me bumped up on the wait list, because I've really been begging you, Gary, to get these lights, because my circadian rhythm is way off right now.
Yeah, look, I can't wait for these to be out there. And to your point, like, this is based on IP of, a Nobel Prize winner, another person who's U.S., Inventor of the Year 1 year, just a great technology team. And like you, I felt the same way with EcoSense. I'm sorry, with Color Kinetics, our first company. I was so excited for these lights, and the same thing here. I just think it's. Look, I'm excited, probably like you, not only to have these lights in my house, but to use a computer where it's basically healthy for your circadian rhythm. I just feel that's so important. I should add that, there's this certification with buildings called the LEED certification that a lot of people know about, and it shows how environmentally friendly a building is, right? Whether it's got good heating, cooling, and LED lights. You have to have LED lights in there for a LEED certification. Well, they've now come up with a new certification that feels like it's very apropos for me, and that's called WELL, and it's for how healthy the building is, right? And look, we as humans, we want to go work in an environment, whether at home or in the office, that's really healthy, and light is clearly a very important part of that. And so I'm excited to hopefully help a little bit, like we did maybe with the LED revolution, ideally help a little bit about with this revolution and this move to healthy lighting.
Yeah, so WELL certification already has billions and billions of square feet of commercial space already there, and it's growing. So if I, last time I checked, there was like the TAM, or the total available market for Chorus products or healthy lighting, is like 50 billion in commercial, which you already have, 50 billion in consumer, which you are launching now, and then what is exciting is that 275 billion in displays. And I would tell me a little bit more. We just have a couple of minutes left, and maybe I can invite you again, because a story is not finished here.
Yeah, look, hey, just smartphone sales alone last year were 1.24 billion. As you can imagine, devices, displays, computers, TVs, it's an enormous market. We estimate it's at least 350, 400 billion, maybe larger. Whether it's 100 billion or 300 billion, as you can imagine, this is a big market, and we're really excited because, first of all, our technology, it really only involves a little marginal additional cost now in terms of the LEDs, and the way the cost curve is working there, that'll approach zero over the coming years. So it'll basically just be a licensing fee to us. And the way I like to think about it, would I pay 10 to 20 bucks more for an iPhone that I knew dropped the blue light to zero at night?
Absolutely.
So you could feel like, okay, someone you can check your email before you go to bed and know that it's not like ramping up your super chiasmatic nucleus. So I just think it's a huge market. Even one or two of these deals is, potentially hundreds of millions. And the great thing about licensing revenue, it's very high margin. And to your point, Salman, it's based on IP. So it's really defensible.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, I just hope it helps me when I cross the pond, since I go back and forth from Barcelona to the US several times a year. And the circadian rhythm is like horrible, okay, jet lag. But We do want to thank Gary Mueller, our special guest on VC Masters, and of course, Dr. Salman Alzar, and our viewers in the United States, and of course, our viewers around the world, including our intrepid entrepreneurs who travel around the world all the time, who visit the Pod TV stations. And we'll see you next week on VC Masters, Pod TV Network. Take care. Bye-bye.
I go anywhere with you, 'cause you fill my mind.